Chapter 7. An hour had gone by, and Tara was just finishing her packing when an odd feeling came over her. She stood stone still and felt a little unsettled, as she thought about the woman who lost her life just hours earlier. Thoughts began to race through her mind. She was now certain that what she heard earlier were the last sounds that woman would ever make. Why would someone do something so horrible? She said to herself, then sighed a bit, and sat down on the couch. Moments later the phone rang. Caller ID showed it was Luke. "Are you all right?" Luke said. "Yeah, just a little shaken up." "What the hell is going on? This is the third time this has happened." Just then a special report came over the news and Luke said, "Hold on a second. They're talking about it right now." "I don't have to hear the report. I was here when it happened." "That's not what they're talking about. They say reports of meteorite strikes are increasing every day around the world. They're worried that something big is coming our way. Some scientists believe we're getting bombarded by little fragments of an asteroid." "I don't believe what they're talking about. I heard a report the other day where the so-called experts were divided on whether it was meteorite or an unknown ball of light, something they're still scratching their heads about. Right now, my only concern is about you. Instead of waiting until tomorrow, why don't you fly back today?" "I already have things planned out. To change things now would be a big hassle. Besides, all these crop circle blasts have happened in unpopulated areas." "For now, but that could change any time." "I've always been a betting girl, you know that. Just stop worrying about me and get back to work. I'm sure you're working on something far more pressing than this. I'll see you tomorrow. Everything will be all right, I promise." Then she put down the phone and walked over to the window. She could see her roomie, Sissy, talking to some of the neighbours. They were very animated, and could only have been talking about the murder and the fireball strikes, she reasoned. "I take it everything is all right with Tara," Jessica said to Luke. "Yeah. That would be too close for comfort for me. Heck, I'd be moving out today." "The blast wasn't that close. It was somewhere in an unpopulated area." "The blast. Yeah, the blast. You're right about that. What was too close for comfort?" Jessica was silent for a second as she paged through a file. "Nothing." "It was something. Tell me what it was." "I heard on the news that some woman was brutally murdered out there, the same night as the blast. I could see from where the reporter was standing it was right next door to Tara's house." "She didn't mention anything about it to me." "She probably didn't hear about it." "Yeah, probably. If anyone calls me, just tell them I'll be back later today. I just have a few errands to run," Luke said as he started to leave. "I'm not stupid. You're on your way out there. Did you ever stop and think maybe she didn't want you to know?" "Why wouldn't she want me to know?" "So you wouldn't feel obligated to come running out there." "I was going to go out there anyway. I want to find that crop circle and check out what's down in the hole." "That makes sense if you forget about logic." "I really am going out there for that reason. Try to keep your spying to a minimum." Jess made a funny "ha-ha," Luke said, and left. Just after sundown, Luke began preparing himself mentally for whatever was waiting for him in the ominous deep hole in California, but after a quick look around, he morphed into DragonMan and took flight into the sunset, watching in awe as the fiery red sphere of light slowly disappeared beneath the horizon, leaving only lingering rays of beautiful reds and oranges, clothed in a garnish of its own magnificence. It was still daylight in California, and the site was still clearly visible from above when DragonMan arrived on the scene. It was much larger and more ominous looking than he thought it would be. The gaping hole was about 100 feet across, and the strange symbols which were embedded in the grass looked like some kind of alien symbols akin to those at Stonehenge. And what further set this anomaly apart from anything else, there were no crops. This was not a crop circle. There was no way to know how deep the hole was or what was down there. It was too dark to make anything out, so DragonMan descended into the dark void. It felt like a dreamlike slow motion as he went deeper and deeper. It was so far down. It was dark and deep and featureless. The gloom of over 2 miles down was mind-boggling. Like a cylinder, there were no sides, just a geometric shape with 2 ends lying parallel to each other, and connected by a single side with a circular cross-section. The inside of it was smooth and perfectly straight all the way down. After several minutes, DragonMan saw nothing else but the hole itself, and was about to exit when he began to feel a pulsating type of vibration. It seemed to be getting stronger and stronger as each moment passed, but there was nothing that obviously stood out. "This could stop as suddenly as it started," he said to himself, and quickly began running his hands across the bottom of the pit until he found the source of the vibration. With his hands, he dug down just below the surface to find an odd, smooth, gear-shaped stone about the size of a dinner plate. Then without hesitation he pulled it from the ground. Suddenly a violent concussion blast went off, hurtling DragonMan through the air. The sound of the blast could be heard for miles around. Moments later, the sound of sirens could be heard in the distance.